Alright, well, I just had the most insane dream of like my entire life, and I've had some insane dreams. Obviously, it was so crazy, I thought it was important enough to record just slightly after waking up, and it fits the channel. But let me try to explain what just happened. As difficult as that may be, it was quite literally the best way to describe it was like experiencing everything at once, which is very fitting for what we're kind of covering on the channel right now, actually, and what the next raw material session by session breakdown is going to cover. I mean, another way to put that is like in the dream there were definitely components of taking psychedelic drugs, right? And I mean, psychedelic drugs I've had very little experimentation with and just tried a little bit of. Psychedelic drugs am pretty well versed in, and psychedelic drugs I've never tried before. And it was like all of them at once. I would, this is tough. I have a list here of like I wrote down of like how to properly address this, because like yeah, most of it's either not remembered or like impossible to describe. Because if you took every psychedelic at once, you would either die, probably be permanently psychotic, or like foaming on the mouth, like seizing out on the floor at least. So it really, I would add before we kind of get into this that it really satisfied what, like, the wavelength I'm on, or the wavelength that I think many people find themselves on. It's a pretty common theme nowadays where some people are able to keep up in conversation with me, and I feel like I'm at like the pinnacle of like esoteric information and whatnot. And people who've never been exposed to some of these things can just, we can have very fluid conversations, right? Where there's a lot of understanding, a lot of back and forth. And we've reached a lot of similar conclusions from, completely different sources, which is very, very validating in the psychosis that is esotericism, because you have three regulatory bodies which determine these things, at least in the West. I'm sure you could do a little bit of mental gymnastics to make this apply anywhere. But you have the church, or the schisms of churches, but like the church as an institution. You have the state, because those also schismed, and then you have like what people actually believe. So you have you. So you're denying the macrocosm. You're saying the macrocosm is moronic, because it is. Like no one trusts the government. No one believes everything the church is saying is true, right? This is not groundbreaking. But like that, the microcosm has the potential for validity, right? So that's and then it's like kind of like if we're denying the church, we're denying the state. How much are we denying? How much? Like what's the next unifying of all these different microcosmic souls trying to properly identify and label the truth, and it, in light of like the legacy structures that exist that have like tarnished it and have so much power nowadays, unfortunately. So yeah, everything was in resonance between like a lot of my beliefs, or the way the mechanisms in which I see how things work. And it's really fun. We're going to cover them, especially in the next video, especially in the next Elite Insider Dialogue. Well, let's kind of like shift gears here. Like I'll try to talk about the dream structure. I've just been babbling for like almost 5 minutes now. I was on what felt like some type of vacation, and I felt like I took some kind of drug, and that's probably the best way I could describe it. Like I felt like I took something. I don't know if that was like you're the alien and like you're gonna die and you're gonna like wake up and like all the other aliens like take the bong away from you and you're like, whoa, you took a really big rip, man. Are you okay? Yeah, and that's pretty much all. I mean, like literally so many places, like everywhere at once. I guess I can like briefly describe. I'll kind of jump around here, like how the dream ended and like what happened just before I woke up, and kind of wrote this down and then started, speaking to a microphone. I told I was speaking to one of my fraternity brothers. So I was in a time and place speaking to someone that I knew. And I was telling them about my brother and how my brother was necessary to explain the story I was telling. And his confusion was like, you don't have a brother. And I'm like, I don't have a brother. So, or like a biological brother, right? I wasn't even the person like I thought I was, which had a brother. I thought it was Terrence McKenna talking about Dennis McKenna, and I have like an idea for why I thought that. And then I realized I was like, no, I'm me, and then I like woke up, right? So I do want to before I get into some of the other things that I think made up this dream, I kind of wanted to cover what I thought might have been happening here, because I do have quite a bit of XP with dream interpretation, but not an expert, not super developed or anything. I've just thought about it in the past. I was thinking about maybe like this was a type of unification with the group soul, and I'm quite familiar with Terrence McKenna and a lot of his stories. I think he's a very brilliant and entertaining author. He was one of the primary figures that kind of got me into esoteric thinking. And on a side note, it's really satisfying to like come back to his lectures and understand what he's talking about. And it's not quite as interesting anymore because he puts a really wild spin on things. And I think that's kind of a big problem too, and like what I want to address with the channel is a lot of these things are logical, like they are rational, they happen for a reason. There's a causal ordering, like a technological ordering to them, which is kind of what I'm discussing right now. It's not all kooky woo-woo out there. Like these things have happened, they have rules and they follow laws, and you just have to be creative and identify them, right? I don't know, I was like, maybe we talk about the raw aliens talk about the social memory complex, or like the uploading of all memories into the super AI, which is a macrocosmic group soul, or a collection of every single like human incarnate's experience and memories into one like super divine being or whatever, right? And that's the same thing for the raw entities as they pass through from Venus, from mineral life into the plant animal life, and eventually into the raw aliens, and then the stages that come after, right? So I was thinking maybe I was, we'll explore how that happened. I was that's a confusing idea, welcome. I've been wondering what that meant for 5 years, and I finally have an in with the astral plane and the mental body and the causal body, and we'll be exploring that in some depth in the future on the channel. But I was thinking maybe it was like my subconscious mind trying to tap into their experiences. In True Hallucinations by Terrence McKenna, he swears that his brother was having this type of omniscience, and that he was that's the mental body, by the way. It's just like if you can imagine like all data in the universe like immediately accessible, like at like like instantly by the touch of your fingertips, and you can see technology progressing this way as an astro-theological manifestation. How do I get this into words? Yeah, I've been thinking about omniscience lately a lot, and omnipotence, as a way to kind of explain and bridge, talking about divinity, talking about like definitions of God, and like making fun of like Christians who deny themselves their divinity, or like everything is God but me. or like I don't feel any connection to God, but yet I'm gonna talk about God to like the most upteenth degree. There's no definition for that word either. I just have really slow self-esteem. sorry, but like it's spirituality is really dysgenic for a reason. Yeah. So that was just an idea that like I was like trying to tap into some kind of experiential memory, right, of me being another person, or like the one infinite creator being another person, right? And then like it's like no, you're waking up into the dream of individuated being. So like that was the one idea I had, and the projection is the law of light, like breaking down upon self-realization. I probably explained that better. It's a Jung thing, but I'm kind of all over the place with this. This is a little scattered. I really like the idea of being able to formulate all my ideas in like a notepad and kind of bring everything up the way I want to do it. So like talking like straight up with all these ideas is very, very scattered with where we're at. I guess there's two more things I kind of think I want to talk about. One was that I feel like I've had a lot of dreams up until this point build this dream up, and I'll explain here why I believe that. So like the most vivid dreams, like I remember I don't remember if it was like a quote on Twitter or online or something. I read it in a book, but there was like some kind of author saying like, oh, this was one of the dreams that like defines you or like defines your life, right? And I'm like, I want to have those dreams. Like, how do I get those dreams every single night? And like, you don't get those dreams every single night. So you'd probably, it's not. I don't think that's how dreams really work. But like some of the most vivid, some of the most like personality defining dreams, like I don't know, at least a couple of them, right? The other one was a little bit less so, but I did feel like it had some oomph to it that made me connect it to what I'm talking about here. So I think there's 3 or 4. The fourth one is really iffy, mainly that I like hardly remember it. But it did come up when this idea kind of came to me. So the first dream is like nuts. Probably the craziest dream I've had in my life, and it was what's scary about it is that it was simple. And if you do dream interpretation, simple dreams, so like there's different types of dreams, and there's reading symbolism and whatnot, and eventually you read so much symbolism and you can begin communicating with spirit guides and angels and working on the astral plane and things higher than that, and it's a whole rabbit hole that's not well understood at all, and it's something I'm very interested in. So like, but a simple dream is usually trying to convey a message that isn't necessarily super related to like what a normal dream might be trying to inform you of. To my knowledge, from my understanding, I think some of that idea is from Dr. Lennox, if you want to give him some heat instead of me. But the way the dream was structured was it was whatever, and then the vivid part of the dream was, I was living at my dad's house at the time. I was living in like a sun porch type room, so it was like an all glass room, and it was a little hot, but it was really nice. He had a very pretty backyard, lots of birds and squirrels, and I would play like I would have my computer out there. I would work on I think this was before I got into YouTube, but I was trying to get into it, and it didn't really stick at the time. Just obviously like play games or whatever. So I spent a lot of time in this room, right? Like practically my entire summer, like not my entire summer, my entire summer, like at his house rather. And this was during COVID, so I'm not super sweaty, but not gaming all summer. I like going outside, but like I spent a lot of time in this room. It was a nice room to spend time in, and so I had a dream one night, and I was in the room. There was no computer desk, and I was just looking out the window into this little fenced off backyard, and the way the backyard is, it kind of like it's like has this all pretty imagery around like kind of around the fence. You know, it gets a little bit busier, and there's just a lot of grass in the middle of it. So it's kind of like framing, you know, if like you had an event, you wanted to put tables, that's where people kind of hang out and sit and chit chat and whatever, or talk and chit chat. And so it's pitch black, right? It's like the middle of the night. I'm alone, and there's this white girl just standing in the middle of the backyard, and I'm transported into this dream from whenever with no context. Right, so I'm standing there, and there's just this thin layer of like glass between us, completely fenced off, completely closed off from the outside world. Me making eye contact with like this little white girl. Right, when I say white, I don't mean like white girl. I mean like she was like pure white. Her clothes, her eyes, her hair, like she looked like a ghost, but she was opaque. Right, so she was like you couldn't see through her. She wasn't like etheric or anything. She was completely solid. And standing next to her was a black dog, and I could kind of feel the fear and terror building up in my body. But I walk outside the gate, or I walk outside the. I open up, you know, the sliding door. I walk outside. I let her out of the gate. And then she leaves, and that's the dream. Like, so that's what I was talking about. I said it's super, super simple. But so like I get chills like even just talking about it right now. How do I put this? I was like 8 years old, and my dad was talking to a girl who did theater, right? And there was like this Halloween play, and all the stories were spooky, yeah. But like I was 8, like I saw like live leak beheading videos, so it was nothing crazy. But there was a story about Bloody Mary that just got me, and it spooked me, and it terrified me, and I had never been more scared in my entire life. And like growing up, still like that was the pinnacle of that's how much fear like my body can hold. Like you're like a peasant and there's like Mongols raiding your village, you know, and you're just locked there. They tell you to stay there, and you stay there because you can't move because you're paralyzed. Like I couldn't go to the bathroom, and I had to pee so bad, because I didn't want to look in the mirror at night because I didn't want to see Bloody Mary. And so when I woke up from this dream, I had a snake in my room, right? And like there was a little snake light. So I had a nice walk-in closet. So sometimes I would like throw in a few blankets and put pillows there. So I wake up in this like closed off walk-in closet. There's no light in my room. It's pitch black. And I have so much fear in my body. I'm terrified. I'm like, that wasn't real. That was a dream. You know what I mean? Like I'm shivering, and I like white knuckle opened like the closet door and like try to collect myself, and I go make a cup of coffee, and like 20 or 30 minutes later I'm still like shaken up. And I the reason I'm saying like talking about the components that made up this dream was I work with a psychic. We have like there's a book club. There's a couple of us, and I told her about the dream, and she said it was like you saw a ghost. And I'm like, okay, if I saw a ghost, I would not be nearly as spooked as that. But I see the point you're trying to make here. And it was just me alone in my apartment here before falling asleep last night. And I used to be super diehard materialistic atheist. Like was raised Jehovah's Witness for a very, very brief amount of my childhood. So I was just fed up with religion and whatnot, right? So what happened was, it was like I was looking outside, like looking through a window into the dark now, like spooks me so hard, because that is the worst thing that's gonna happen. Is you're gonna see something like that, something so out of the ordinary, and it's like it's not necessarily trying to kill you, but it's like it's just like the pure archetypical terror of like the supernatural, right? And so I look out my window last night, like just like it was middle of the night, like way too late in the night actually, so everyone's asleep. There's no one up. There's no cars. And And obviously I don't see anything, but it's the lingering terror that's there. You know what I mean? It's this little bit of psychosis that's like, I shouldn't look out the window right now. No, there's nothing there. That's like superstition for materialistic people, right? But I'm coping with this, right? I'm like, and like the thing I settle on is like, if there was something there, I would like try to understand it, and it wouldn't be supernatural anymore, right? And so that's what I went to bed on. So that's probably the biggest one. The other two dreams are a little bit more simple. There was one where I was at like, it was really weird. I was kind of at like a ski resort or like a snow lodge or something like that. It was just kind of funny. Like there's nothing super. I mean, there's like a plane crash. There's like stupid sexy Flanders when he was skiing and he was cheeked up. And it felt like more to me about, and like it didn't make a ton of sense to me, but like looking back at the dream I just had in comparison to that one, it felt like that was kind of building up. This is the dream I was talking about where it wasn't super memorable, but it gave this one a little bit of oomph, where it felt like the dream was conveying the logic structures that break down between our space-time reality and what I'm imagining is like when you go to sleep, you're entering time-space a little bit, or like the eternal present, or the place you go after you die, which is where visitation dreams can even occur, right? Or like when you have a family member die and they come back and speak to you in a dream or whatnot. Very, very common. So yeah, one of the other components of the dream was that looped again. So like stupid sexy Flanders and like the plane crash, it was almost like it happened again. So there's a sequential ordering of events here that was completely nonsensical to us, like us beings, you know, trapped in the web of linear time, right? And I was walking through, or not, excuse me, not walking. I was riding through these gates down from like the mountains, right? Into like like the snow lodge, like ski resort area. And with me there was like a guide of some sort, right? And they were talking to me and explaining things to me. And we were just going through these series of like pretty simple. There was nothing. They weren't super ornate or anything like that. They were just like kind of these horseshoe type structures. You know, we were following through this trail, and then once we got back to that little village or little ski lodge, I woke up. I really didn't know what to think of it. I kind of took it as like that. Like there was some kind of dream ordering and there was some kind of differentiation, just like what I just explained there. Or like there's a breaking down of logic that happens when you dream. And what that dream was saying to me was like, there is a reason this happens. There is like a reason. There are laws. There's natural law that dictates what is happening when when you go from waking to dreaming, and the breakdowns of logic that occur both ways. And this is really important for things like channeling, because like that's exactly what we're dealing with, is this is the logical, you know, mismatch of our world or like of veiled reality and unveiled reality, of like space time and time space, of like linear time and the eternal present. So like that was the other component. And then the next one was it was just super pleasant. It was just a really like wonderful dream, like the best dream I ever had. Besides this one, I would consider that the best dream I ever had. But like the most pleasant dream I've ever had, like by leagues and miles. And I was with a girl I really liked. And I didn't know the girl or anything. It was just like there's like, it wasn't sexual. It was just like pure like romantic love, you know, or like pure intimacy. We're with like a group of people, and we were just like exploring through like the wilderness, and like we walked from like an abandoned city to this wilderness, and I realized like the wilderness, we walked under this gate, and like the wilderness was like my Minecraft world. So we walked from this unknown location that I've actually like dreamed before. Like, so I've had other dreams in the spot, walked through a forest, which is starting to mesh up with like my Minecraft world, and we walked to this like beautiful city, right? And I'm realizing as I get closer and I'm with everyone, it's like, wow, this is so beautiful. This is insane. Like, what is this? And I'm like, yup, that's the Minecraft world. And like, everyone is just like in awe, and there was this like beautiful music playing, and I've had music play in dreams, but it'd always be like music, but this was like a kalimba or like some kind of just like really soft instrument. Like if I woke up and like that instrument was playing, it was so literal, it was just like, it was hard, it was there, it was just like kind of like drifting in the background very like angelically, and it was just like this really loving, like very like, I just felt like so warm and fuzzy and cozy when I woke up. So that's what I'm talking about when I talk about this insane dream where I experienced everything at once. And like when I'm trying to explain it, how difficult it is, but it had all the elements of like it kind of embracing the supernatural, this extreme blissful pleasantness, and then this understanding of the logical differentiation between space-time and time-space, or like the series of natural laws. And yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to describe something which is impossible to describe. So like, but like it also, I don't know. It was just like this unified like substrate, this unified coalescence of like all this esoteric knowledge I've picked up over the course of my life, and especially the past 5 years. I did write something down here I thought was important. It's been nearly maybe an hour or two now, maybe a little bit less than that. Well, yeah, hour or two, between when I woke up and now, and so like the meaning behind what I said here is a little bit lost to me, but it still kind of makes sense with just on the topic of what the law of one is, I feel like trying to express in its purity, and like that it's a little bit beyond language, right? Like kind of like more of an intuitive understanding of the world versus like this hard linguistic structure where there can be misunderstandings for Tower of Babel, I'll try to read this literally what I wrote down. Okay. As a side note, I feel a lot has been revealed to me about the nature of evil/suffering. We live in a truly proper, intelligent exploration of infinity. This means that we live in a type of sandbox world with the potential for ultimate exploration of free will. Being that we sacrifice some part of ourselves to be given the potential to subjugate, exploit, and enslave other people. This temptation is a type of initiatory rite for higher consciousness. So like that makes sense to me. Like that's what I'm talking about when I say like these are all these things that I've already come to the same conclusions. Or you can definitely see like the idea of heaven and hell there a little bit. And we'll kind of work those ideas out and what they probably are later in the series, and how they work, and or how they most likely work with the best information we have now, and the misconceptions around them currently. But yeah, crazy dream, experiencing everything at once. Maybe try psychedelics, but if you have a bad time, it wasn't me that told you to do that. It can be a mixed bag. Stay safe out there, I guess. But very, very crazy enough where I never thought I would upload like a video on the channel about me having a dream. I feel like I might mention a dream I had in like a raw material video and like briefly go over it, or like something of the sort, but never enough where I'm like, oh my god, I need to like talk about this. And I feel like 99% of what I experienced is lost, but I feel like the 1% of what I captured is there. And if we stick to understanding the law of one through what I think are the best sources, being the raw material, the hidden hand, and Aristodemus Murray. I need to learn how to pronounce that, the dialogue. But yeah, maybe we can get that 1% to like 5 or 10. But yeah, thank you all to anyone who listened. If you have any insight or have a comment, please. Not only does it make like the comment section a nicer place, but it also kind of boosts the algo for the channel, which is very much appreciated. We're still really young and early, and we're trying to get off the ground. So any likes or subscriptions, very welcome too. I don't know how you've been seeing this without being subscribed anyway, but yeah. Thanks to anyone who listened. Let me know what you think. Look forward to more content on the channel here soon. It's coming. It can take a really, really long time to edit videos, and it's a lot of work, but it's very satisfying at the same time. It's something I'm very new to, so please be patient with this. But yeah, thanks for watching or listening. Catch you later.